Hi everyone. I'm Deanna Blackwood, the NACD Stewardship and Education Coordinator. And today I would like to welcome you to Swiftly Adapting to Online Learning breakout session. In today's session, Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District will share with you how they created a solution in SWIFTlets, which stands for Soil and Water Information for Teachers, lessons on environmental themes. It's a collection of online resources that contains easy activities for engagement in a child's local environment. The presentations will be delivered to you by Linda Pettit and Amy Tressler with Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District. Linda Pettit is an environmental education specialist for the Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District, and she brings environmental understanding to students, teachers, and families through interactive programs, activities, workshops, and resources. Linda received the recognition of Outstanding Educator of the Year for Ohio Soil and Water Conservation Districts Area 5 in 1995 and 2009. Linda has worked with students of all ages and truly enjoys educating people from all walks of life about the beauty of nature and the importance of all components of our environment. Amy Tressler is also an environmental education specialist for Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District in Columbus, Ohio. She graduated from the Ohio State University with a bachelor's degree in wildlife management and from the University of South Carolina with a master's degree in elementary education. Amy has worked for over 10 years as both a classroom teacher and non-formal educator with environmental education and stewardship at the forefront of her teaching. Amy is a state certified teacher and is passionate about facilitating engaging learning experiences that encourages students to make meaningful connections between classroom content and the community environment in which they live. Before I pass the floor to our speakers, I'd like to let our guests know that both Amy and Linda are online to answer any questions you may have during their presentations in the chat box. Linda and Amy, thank you for being with us today. Welcome, and I'll pass the floor to you now.
Thank you so much for that introduction. We're excited to be here today to chat with you about our SWIFTlets and how we adapted to online learning in the crazy year that was last year. So we are going to talk about how we adapted and different things that we are continuing to use, and hopefully we'll have these resources then for ever and ever. So the Soil and Water Conservation District in Franklin County started in 1946. Our mission is to promote responsible land use decisions for conservation, protection, and improvement of soil and water resources, but by providing information assistance through effective partnering, technical guidance, and education. And the education that we've developed to meet the new needs for 2020 and on are going to be the SWIFTlets, some videos, teacher workshops, and synchronous virtual programs, which we will be talking about in this session. The SWIFTlets really started because of a newsletter that we had already put together and that we've been doing for years, quarterly throughout the school year. That newsletter is called SWIFT, Soil and Water Information for Teachers. So we had a group of teachers and an email list that we already send this to, again, like I said, quarterly. The SWIFT newsletter contains information on a particular topic each time it goes out, but also then advertises programs that are coming up from any of our partners, things that we have going on that we want them to know about, contests that they can be a part of, and things like that. So we had that already established and branded. Teachers kind of know that, you know, if they see this publication, it comes from Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District. So we decided to take that same platform when we had to go to online learning, or we had to come up with an alternative, let's say, for being able to go into the classroom. So we decided to take this same format and make it a two-page publication and called them SWIFTlets. So it's still soil and water information for teachers, but these are lessons on environmental themes. So we decided when everything happened in March and our schools closed down within a couple of days, zero warning basically, that all of our programs were going to be canceled, and we had to come up with something different to do, that we would make these SWIFTlets. So these came out weekly during the end of last school year from March through May. Each week we did a different topic and followed the same format that you see here. So every SWIFTlet has literary connections. I'm a big proponent of children's books. I've been told too many times by teachers that they didn't have time for science because they had to do literature and language arts. And so I've decided, best way to get in then is to tie to literature. So all of our SWIFTlets have literature connections here, and they're linked to where you can purchase those books or background information about those children's books. Then we have the basic topic. So this one is splendid soil, background information about soil, all of the different areas where you see that they're highlighted. Those are actual links to a publication, a website, or more information about that particular topic. And then we have some kind of a fun fact. This one has the state soils at the bottom, but all of those are always on the first page. And then the second page is where we get into the activity portion. There's always some kind of activity that can be done at home, preferably with little materials that they have to do. Hopefully, in many of them, we get the kids outside at least a little bit. So we have that activity. And then we have additional resources. And there's always at least one link to a video, a little TV show, or a read aloud. So again, they get that literature connection. The Give It a Try is another activity, something simple but related that they can do. Then we have questions to extend the learning, more things to think about that maybe came up in the activity that they were doing, and then some other information piece there. So we have the same format for each of the SWIFTlets. And like I said, they came out weekly during the school year last year, and then we have gone to monthly through the summer and are continuing to do them once a month now through this school year so far. So this is the Soil Superheroes one. Again, literature connections, information there for them to have. The activity in this one is go outside, see if you could find some of these soil critters. Again, we have the additional resources, but we've also added to this one our own additional resource so that when they do go outside and they dig and look for the critters, they can find the soil superheroes with our identification guide. So these are some of the different critters that they might find outside. They can use this identification sheet for that, and then get some information about those particular critters as well while they're doing outside. We're hoping to have, with each of these SWIFTlets, as much information as they would need to do the activity and to be successful as we're going through them. And we're trying to fit, again, a bunch of different topics, things that they would be relating. We do, like many of you probably, we do soil and water related topics since we work for soil and water conservation. So Mighty Macros is another one that's been really popular, talking about those macroinvertebrates, how important they are, and again, how we use them to monitor the rivers and to tell the quality of the water. This is really a new concept for a lot of people to be able to understand that, first of all, what all is living in our rivers, and secondly, how we can use them for identification. So again, some great literature connections, again, some other resources that they can use. And we have also added to this one an identification chart as well, so that they can go out and look for those mighty macros with this field guide, see what they can find, and learn more about each one of them. Again, this is pretty popular, and again, the activity is to go out and see what they can find. With that one also, there is a how to do it video that's linked in the SWIFTlet. We'll talk some more about the videos that we've connected a little bit later. So again, a variety of different topics, each one something that relates to what we've been working with, and obviously the natural resources that we try to promote. So we've talked about native plants and why native plants are important, stream stewardship, and with that one we also talk about erosion, pollinator power, how important that is, the pollinators and so forth. So again, information on the front page. The back page has the activity and resources, additional resources. We've also decided with resources that it's kind of fun to have another component. So with each of our SWIFTlets, we have a coloring page, information as well as just something fun to color for both children and adults. Amy, my partner, her mother is an artist and a great resource, and she's been a wonderful volunteer to help us. So each SWIFTlet, she has created a coloring page for us that we can share also. Again, for teachers, if they're doing this in the classroom with their students, this could be an assignment for those that are working, from home. This could be another fun thing that they can download and use. So each of our SWIFTlets has a related coloring page that has additional information or pulls from the information within the SWIFTlet itself to take it just another step further. And we have gotten compliments from both adults and children that have had fun coloring these pages and learning the additional information that's within them. So that's been a fun additional component that we've been able to add. First thing we had to think about when we're trying to do any of our programming, as many of you probably know, is it's got to be relevant. The teachers have to be able to make sense of it and know how to use it or why it's important. So we have connected all of our SWIFTlets to the Ohio Science Standards. We use mostly both the Earth and Space Sciences standards as well as the Life Science standards. Those are the two that we really focus on the most, which fit, what we're talking about. So here you'll see that with Earth and Space Sciences, non-living resources have specific properties is in 3rd grade. The changes of the Earth due to weathering is in 4th grade. Erosion is also mentioned in 4th grade. 5th grade, we talk about organisms and how they perform a variety of roles in an ecosystem. This would be a life science standard. Other life science standards that we work with in multiple grade levels are, again, how these organisms have to have the right needs for survival and how they have to have those needs in order to survive from their environment. And so changes in the environment can change the ability of these animals to live in certain situations. And we have tied these 2 science standards in grades pre-K through high school. 6th and 8th grade, 6th grade again works with soil, taking it a step further, digging a little deeper as you would. And 8th grade again goes a little bit more into the geologic processes, that erosion, and taking it a little bit further as well. In Ohio, like I said, we have Ohio Science Standards. We do not go, Ohio does not follow the national science standards, though they're similar. So any of the science standards, can be taken through. Some of our private schools don't follow the standards exactly the same. So we try to be a little bit flexible from different grade levels. But they have, similar ideas, obviously. So as you look at these, each of our SWIFTlets, we have correlated to the standard for all the different grade levels. So a teacher could easily go to this chart that's online and click to see, oh, in pre-K, this SWIFTlet fits my pre-K standards, or if I'm a 5th grade teacher, this one would work for my 5th grade standards, and so forth. And we've done that with each of them. With high school, we connect with environmental science and biology classes and physical geology so that they can, again, make those connections.
All right, thanks, Linda. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for our presentation today. So SWIFTlets were one of the ways that we quickly adapted when COVID hit. Certainly, Liz and I were finding ourselves last March in a situation where on average, we were seeing about 12 to 15,000 students annually for programs, and we were suddenly finding ourselves without any schools to be able to go into. So SWIFTlets were one of the resources that we had started creating and using as a way to really support teachers in the classroom and also parents like myself who were suddenly finding themselves in a new situation where they were teaching their students at home. So we kind of evolved over the course of this last year into creating a lot of different resources that would support those parents that are teaching their students at home, as well as the teachers that are in the classroom, and certainly enhance instruction for students. So what we wanted to share for the last part of this presentation were some of those other ways that we were meeting the needs of those teachers and students. And some of this stuff are things that a lot of organizations are created. So it's not necessarily terribly innovative, but it's new for us. And it's also a resource that we had been hoping to create for quite some time. So we wanted to talk a little bit about videos that we have been creating and the ways that we are using videos. So a lot of different organizations have been coming up with great ways to share videos, whether it was through a virtual story time, a live type of instruction, which we'll talk about that in a little bit, or creating these online resources that then they would share out. We have found that through the creation of videos, we're actually able to meet several different needs. So we have been working with partnering organizations to help create videos collaboratively together in order to support virtual programs that they're doing. We've also worked with our local municipalities and created specifically, like you see in this picture here, videos about specific topics. In this case, it was macroinvertebrates and kind of a how-to video about macroinvertebrates that then those municipalities were able to share out with their residents. And those residents were then able to take that video, watch it, learn how to do it, and then hopefully go out on their own and be able to sample for macroinvertebrates. In addition to that, we've also been creating videos that complement the SWIFTlets that we've been creating. So a lot of the at-home activities that we encourage our students and our families to do, we're trying to reach all those learning modalities. So all those different ways that students learn. We know that reading is one way they can understand information, but we also know that a lot of students are visual. And so having an opportunity to watch something and learn how it works is another way that they can get that content. So I'm going to share a couple of videos that we have created. The first one was for a virtual kind of fair, if you will. They couldn't have this event in person. So a lot of different organizations contributed videos. So I'm going to share that one first. The second video that I'm going to share actually supplements one of our SWIFTlets about water quality. So we want to just show you how those short videos we've used in a couple of different ways so you can get an idea how we use those. So with regards to equipment for making these videos, just in case this is something that you would be interested in learning a little bit more about, we were quite fortunate to be able to have an iPad through our office that we were able to use to make most of these videos. We have a pretty great mounting system called a Padcaster. If you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, there's lots of different packages with lots of different components, including even green screen if you want to go that direction to using that technology. But the Padcaster has allowed us really the flexibility to create these videos both in an indoor setting as well as out in the field. And it can use either an iPad, mount either an iPad or an iPhone. And then for the most part, most of our videos that we have been creating, we've been using with Adobe Premiere Rush. We've found it's a program that's very simple to use. It's very straightforward. Neither of us had any formal training on Adobe Premiere Rush, and we were able to pick it up and put those videos together. And the nice thing about it is that you can sync it on different devices. So there's some flexibility between making and taking these videos on your iPad and your iPhone. You can do the editing on your iPad if you want to, but you also have that flexibility because the videos are synced up with your account, that if you want to do the editing, you can also do that on your laptop or your desktop. So we have found these to be very simple tools to be able to make these videos and then use them with teachers and students and families. In addition to that, we also wanted to share some tips we learned about our teacher workshop that we ran this summer. So earlier in the year, back in January, we were actually planning for the summertime to offer 2 in-person teacher workshops, which were going to be 3 days in length. As COVID started to develop and we really saw the severity of COVID, it became very clear probably in about April or May that our in-person teacher workshops were probably not going to be able to happen. So we had to come up with a way to still offer those if we could. And so we decided to offer them in a virtual learning environment. So what you see up on the screen here are actually 3 days, the agendas for 3 days of our teacher workshop that we took from being a completely in-person workshop to a virtual workshop with just a couple of in-person options if teachers felt comfortable participating in those. So some of the keys and some of the key takeaways we took away from this teacher workshop, which hopefully could be helpful to you if this is something that you want to do with your local teachers, is we offered contactless pickup of all our workshop materials. So we gathered everything, we packaged everything up. We had an opportunity for the teachers to collect all of the materials that they would need from the workshop, for the workshop from our office without having to interact with anyone if they didn't want to. We relied on a lot of guest speakers. So because this was a chunk of time in the morning, most of our sessions were all virtual in the morning, and then we had opportunities in the afternoon for some of those in-person meetings or field work that we were going to do. We really relied on guest presenters to help us through this. We were going to have them anyways for in-person, but it ended up being really nice for participants to have a variety of speakers over the course of the day. So it wasn't just Linda and I talking the entire time, and it created a lot of flexibility in the schedule for us as well. The other thing that we learned is that there were some really cool ways to engage our teachers using resources like Google Drive, where we could still be actively creating a PowerPoint or slides together. And it was a way that we could kind of evaluate the activity that we were doing, same way that the teachers could do that with their students. And then as far as the in-person activities that we did, and we have a couple of pictures of those, we did still offer the opportunity for teachers to electrofish if they wanted to in person. And we also offered an opportunity to do some macroinvertebrate sampling in person as well. We just modified everything so that teachers were spread out. Everybody knew that they had to wear masks ahead of time. And then in addition to that, if there were teachers that did not feel comfortable participating in person with our iPad and our iPhones, we were able to take them into the field by Zooming with them live from the field. It wasn't seamless, but it was a good option for teachers that maybe weren't local or weren't comfortable with coming to these in-person activities. So we felt it was a really good blend of both in-person and online. Oh, and this was one of our guest presenters from here in Columbus. We have a Museum of Biological Diversity. This was one of our guest presenters who was presenting live from the fish lab with their preserved specimens. it was really the next best thing to teachers not being able to go into the museum and actually handle and look at these specimens. We had one of their professionals teaching these teachers. So there were some really nice collaborations that happened with this teacher workshop. One of the things, our takeaway from this is that through our evaluations, we actually found that our teachers really liked this format for our teacher workshop. So we asked them if we didn't have to worry about COVID in the future, would this be a format that you would still be interested in participating in? And almost all of our teachers said that they would love to do this type of format again for a teacher workshop. We found it offered a lot of flexibility for our teachers who were also parents and were staying home with kids. And that would oftentimes be the same case, whether you were talking about COVID or whether it was just a normal summer. So we had a lot of teachers that were thrilled for this opportunity because it gave them so much flexibility. So moving forward on our end, we are certainly considering continuing to offer our teacher workshops, even when it's safe for us to be back in person again. We're going to continue to probably offer these workshops virtually so that our teachers have that flexibility to participate. So we were really excited about that. And then lastly, the other things that we are now so excited to be doing again, now that everybody's kind of in the swing of things and has kind of adapted to this new form of learning, we are thrilled to be able to offer live virtual programs for our students in Franklin County again. This is like our best case scenario picture right here, where all your technology is working perfectly. The lighting is really good. You have a nice quiet space, but we also know that we have situations like this during our virtual learning as well. So we are so thrilled that we have teachers that have been so flexible and so understanding. And honestly, they are so excited to have guest presenters coming into their classroom and sharing these programs. Where we would normally have a chance to go in and interact with the students, it's the next best thing to being able to do that. So just a little bit about our virtual programs. We still wanted to make those programs memorable, meaningful, personal for the students. We wanted them to be exciting still, and we wanted those students to be active learners. So when we looked at all of our program offerings, which there's a lot more than what you're seeing on this page here, we really gave those programs a hard look. We thought about the resources that we had already been creating, specifically the SWIFTlets that we had been working so hard on. And we really came up with a list of programs, an offering of programs that was able to use those SWIFTlet resources for kind of the field portions or the hands-on portions. And then we really kind of focused the scope of our presentations to being kind of the content-rich portions. We're still trying to do best practices as we're presenting. So we're still trying to give opportunities for students to share their personal knowledge, their personal connections. That helps Linda and I so that we know what these students already know, where they're coming from and their learning, so that we can connect the content that we're sharing to where they're at in their studies. We try to do other best practices, like not just talking at the camera the entire time, but rather using features in our different programs, especially Zoom, like the polling or the chat box, and doing things like chat bombs where everybody responds all at one time. Or honestly, just the simple Q&A where we ask a question and we have an opportunity to see all the students and we can call on them. So we try to do a lot of that interaction. And just like some of the resources that we've been showing you in this, we also try to rely on a lot of different things, pictures in our PowerPoints, videos that we've created to make that learning come to life as best we can. If we were in person with students, we would have them sticking their hands in soil. We would have them weathering rocks. We can't necessarily have them doing that while they're live with us, although we do demos of that. But we tie in a lot of times the SWIFTlets so that they have an opportunity, once they've done the virtual program with us, to then take that piece where they can go out into the field and kind of apply what they've learned and do that on their own. So we kind of think it's the best of both worlds as far as virtual learning goes for right now. So kind of thinking about 2020 and beyond and reflecting on this, we are trying to find the silver lining in all of this. And we are so thankful that this has given us the time to really evaluate the programs that we have been doing for a long time. to think about new ways that we can do those programs and make those programs more accessible for our students and our teachers and our families. It's stretched us in new ways to learn new technology, and we think we're really excited about it because we think that this is going to be an opportunity now that we have seen how successful all of us, not just Franklin Soil and Water Conservation District, but our teachers and our students and our families have been with this technology. We're hoping that in the future, even once we're able to go back into the classroom, these are going to be resources that we will continue to be able to use. So if we find that we have a full day of programming, but maybe at the end of the day, we could jump on and still do a Zoom presentation with our students, we would love to be able to do that. And we're just thrilled that we've really had an opportunity to be creative and innovative and try new things and really expand the reach within our community. So more of this and hopefully more new ideas in the future. So with that, Linda and I are both available for questions through this presentation. If you can't think of a question right now, or if you'd like to reach out to us later on, our email contact information is up here. And we just wanted to thank you all so much for letting us share and participating in our session. And we look forward to any questions that you have. Thank you.
Linda and Amy, thank you so very much for a great, informative and educative presentation. I really enjoyed it, especially the videos. I think they capture attention and teach you some very important information. I hope our guests enjoyed the session as well, and they will go home with some very creative ideas to implement in their own educative programs, and use all those tools and resources that you put together. So thank you again very much for being with us and providing a great information for our guests. In the end, I'd like to encourage our participants to return to our annual meeting agenda and pick up a next session that you would like to attend. So thank you all, and have a great rest of the day.